Wrestlebuddy podcast, all about wrestling. Subscribe and follow for more content.
Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to yet another exclusive interview. This week, we've got the fantastic Dark Sheik. How are you doing today?
Good, I'm well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. It's great to have you on. We've been actually trying to get an interview with you for a minute, so this has been very good that we got a hold of you.
Yeah, first I heard of it, but sure, I'm glad I could make it finally.
All right. So in my notes, it says that you debuted in 2005. You wrestled for places such as SWF, ACW, PWR, etc. How was it getting into the wrestling scene at the time where like Edge and Cena were at like the peak of their careers?
I actually had my first match in 2001. I just wasn't.
Okay.
I was a masked character, so a lot of people didn't see it, and it was before YouTube, so it only exists on VHS because that's. I was 15. I am pretty old, but I took some time off to finish high school, and I came back in 2005 because Edge and others were doing really well. But what convinced me was I saw that WrestleMania, I think the year before, where the main event, the world champions were Guerrero and Benoit. And at the time, this was very inspiring for me because you may have noticed I'm not the largest wrestler. And for a lot of years, like in 2001, when WCW was bought, ECW was bought, and, there was basically no more job opportunities, and it turned into a little bit of a big guy show again. I was disillusioned. So seeing them on top, hugging, crying, was very inspiring. And I thought, you know what? I'll give it another go.
And, well, that's great to know that you actually started in 01.
Okay, I wasn't good till like 2011, so don't worry about it.
But you did continue through the Indies. You're still on the Indies, but you actually founded HoodSlam in 2000.
It's tricky, and honestly, every promoter has always told me, like, don't do it. Pick one, be a wrestler or a promoter, because most people think that you can't do it, in spite of the territory days and how often it was prevalent before. One thing that I noticed is that when HoodSlam began, I lost a lot of bookings in the area. People all of a sudden saw me as competition, even though I'm using their students, which I found silly and ironic. But I chose for a lot of years, and I like to give this credit as to why I'm only just now blowing up. For a lot of years, I was HoodSlam first, Drugs Bunny first, Serial Man first, Pujak, the Stoner Brothers. I want them, Shotzi Blackheart, whoever it might be. I want them at the forefront, and Brittany Wonder, again, a lot of people. And I kind of stepped back because I knew that to do both would be a bit exhausting. Feeding two beasts doesn't work. So I kind of let the personal ones starve a bit. The last few years, though, when we started doing HoodSlam every week, also was the year that I came out as a trans woman. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I gave myself, maybe the same effort that I've given everyone else? And it's been very good for me. I love doing it how I was doing it for 8 or 9 years, and I love how it's going now.
And like you said, you were able to work with Shotzi Blackheart. How does it feel to know that you're able to see her go on and excel into how she is in WWE right now?
Sure, it's a dichotomy of feelings because when I met her, she trained with Stoner Brothers, and I was there a lot, and other people, Anton Voorhees and Coach Nugs, we all helped with her from day one. And I knew right away, like, oh, okay, so you're going to do this in Mexico, and then you'll be in WWE, within 5 or 6 years. I told her this, like, within the first month of meeting her. And bring it up because I was absolutely right, 100%. I probably wouldn't mention it. So when I say it's a dichotomy, it's so unreal and it's thrilling and it's amazing to see it. And also at the same time, you're like, well, of course, what else could have happened? There was no other outcome. And the only thing that's left for me to see is her taking it to the next level where she's not just killing it every week, being Shotzi still 100%. But gosh, I told her a while ago, like, I want to see you versus Brock Lesnar. I don't want to see you doing this and that. I want to see you up there against Roman Reigns. I want to see you against Brock Lesnar. I think that what she brings, I know some people are scoffing because she's like, my size, maybe even a little smaller. But I think that as a performer and as a talent and the charisma and everything that she brings, you can make it work. And that's the only thing I have left to see is now let's watch her main event WrestleMania and take it a step further. Not against someone that came from UFC who did great, but against someone who is established in this world, and she can prove she's as good as anyone here. Because I know it already. I just want to see everyone else see it.
And she's proven it like time after time over in NXT as well. Like she's willing to put her body on the line. And speaking of putting bodies on the line, what drew you into liking like the hardcore and deathmatch style wrestling?
Do I? Who told you that? Who said I liked it? I think it's a sign of the times. Wrestling is cyclical and things come and go, but they never go away forever. And could be wrong. I've been around 20-something years and watching it, got a stomach for it again. And the wrestlers are doing it right. It's not, mankind falls off a cage. And for 10 years, we have all these quote unquote, no offense, backyarders, or maybe more specifically untrained performers. Now they're jumping off their roof thinking that's all it takes to get to WWE, and God bless them. I love watching it on YouTube. However, I think it kind of maybe wasn't the perfect direction. What we have now is people like Nick Gage and a bunch of others that are wrestlers and can work and understand and are trained, and they're adding the hardcore element to this existing platform, not trying to skip over or leapfrog the wrestling part. I think that's why you see a resurgence, and that's why you see me in these events more and more often. However, it was never me being like, it'd be cool with some scars. That wasn't a conversation I had internally.
What would you say would be the biggest factor in you getting your wrestling career started?
Bad parenting, poor childhood. I had to escape to somewhere, and I was comic books, video games, and pro wrestling. And when I saw pro wrestling, which was just a larger than life comic book, and to me, the moment where I was like, okay, this is more than just like an entertainment. This is something, maybe I'm realizing these things as a child, but I loved wrestling already. Like Ric Flair winning the 92 Rumble and Sting. I grew up in Georgia, so very NWA centric. But when I saw Shawn Michaels, first off, as a smaller wrestler, win the Rumble, I'm a younger sibling. Fuck yeah, But then he had that angle with Owen Hart. And I think I even knew it was a work at the time, where he gets kicked in the head and he falls, he passes out during the match, he comes back in 10 minutes. At the time, they took 20 minutes to put him on the stretcher and make sure his neck's okay. And,
made it feel real.
Yes. And I watched a whole arena care about somebody, which again, maybe because of poor parenting, I didn't really have that feeling. And I was like, oh, I want that. I'd love if I could, not just to have it, but to inspire such feeling in an arena of people, like to me was a work of magic. And you can see people cry for joy for a touchdown or a home run. And it's still, some would argue more authentic. But I don't know, there was something to it to me that spoke to me, and I could tell that this was it. This was the premier form of entertainment, of performance, of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. I think a lot of, we just want to be loved, like the Papa Roach song. And I think that relate to that too, without even
100%.
Knowing. We're like, oh shit.
Yeah, as I said, that song actually has a lot of weight to it.
That's right.
Who would you say has been the biggest factor in like you keeping going throughout the almost 2-decade career?
Me? I don't know who else to give credit. I did a lot of the work. All the promoters that put me on, you know. Although, again, for a lot of those years, that would be me again because I just didn't have. So at this point, Effie and GCW, Brett, because I was staying at home during a pandemic, and as much as I itched to wrestle, I thought like, okay, we're gonna not perform while people have the potential to get sick. We're not gonna put on shows because I personally we're right up against the ring. We're body on body. It's not exactly like a GCW show or another event, a big gay brunch, where when I went there in October for Indiana, people were spaced out. They were in bleachers. I felt a lot better about doing their show than I would have about doing mine. But if it hadn't been for Effie putting me on brunch and then Brett deciding like, oh, let's keep rolling with her, I'd just be sitting at home still. And it was, so right now they get the credit. For the 10 years before that, me and just me, nobody else.
It's always good to be able to support yourself. Keep yourself going.
Sometimes nobody else will. I will say that Shotzi and Mansoor, the two students that came through Stoner U and now are on Raw and SmackDown, they were motivational. Seeing them, you know, it makes me want to have a place for them to perform at. Where when I started, they said, oh, you're Iranian, you're a Sheik. And we want you to be Osama bin Laden and hitting women and spitting on whatever and blah, blah. And all this, like, it was Saudi, as you may have heard. And now he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to go through that painful racism that I had to experience. I can give him a platform to just be him. And Shotzi doesn't have to go through a lot of the awful things that women went through in wrestling because that's not our focus at HoodSlam. So those were motivations for me to continue because when I could see these wonderful talents that just, you know, I think if people encouraged me and put me in the right atmosphere, maybe I'd have been successful like they are. But why dwell on that when instead I can just correct the mistakes and give it to them? So very motivational, very inspirational.
Understandable, very understandable.
Yeah.
What would be your, since you've been around in the ring for about 20 years, what would be your personal in-ring favorite match that you've performed?
Oh, my own?
We'll get to the other match later.
Sure. The one with Mansoor at HoodSlam right before he went to WWE, probably one of my best matches. I wish I had transitioned already publicly because I try not to watch the things from before I transition. On a similar tone, there's a match with Mike Hayashi that was a tribute to our friend Virgil Flynn that passed away, and a match with Brian Kendrick that I just love because to me, I was like, okay, I am pretty good. But today, right now, the match is probably the one with Edith Surreal that I mentioned earlier from GCW, Effie's Big Gay Brunch. I had never worked with them at the time, Still Life with Apricots and Pears, now Edith Surreal. We'd never performed together. I was somewhat familiar with their work. Mostly, I just loved the person. We were the first trans woman I got to perform against, and the same as for her. And to do it on such a scale and a platform and have it be so well received, and then to also just love the match, I was really good in it, you know. That's a big one, and I hope to have more of these monumental matches now that I look and feel how I want to feel and I can watch them again.
And you have been working with GCW quite a bit over the past couple of years. More recently, like you said, from 2020 to now.
Yeah.
How is that differ from, like, their environment differ from any other environment that you've been in on the indies?
Every locker room will have its own quirks. Some will be completely different. Like at HoodSlam, there's people just smoking weed, and you know, every now and then there's like a quarter pound or a pound of weed just being sold and stuff in the locker room. And
fuck yeah.
it's a fucking, you know, there's a lot going on back there. Maybe I shouldn't have said it, but just like shit's happening. It's wild. It's fun. And those are, the tamer things, I should mention. GCW, while not so, people are just giving away weed for free back there is the difference. They go to there's like, here's some joints, here's a nug. At HoodSlam, I have to buy it. And other shows have to kayfabe it. But the other cool thing about GCW, and just everyone is there to put on a great show. You go to shows and sometimes we're all just different pieces doing our thing. We don't talk to each other, and that's fine. But at GCW, everyone is there to have the best show they can, to give the fans an experience. And also to show up, because they know that with this awesome platform, there's eyes on us. So there's a lot of electricity in the air. And every match, excuse me, smoke a lot. Every ECW, it's not, you're always like, holy shit, that was amazing. But it's not like, fuck, how do I follow that? It's just like, hell yeah, the energy here. Hell yeah, the performers. Like, it inspires you to be better. So that's, to me, and I get to see Effie all the time. I get to see Allie. It's just lovely. I love it there.
How is it working with Effie, Allie Cat, or Catch as she goes by now?
So I've never gotten to wrestle against Allie Catch. I will soon in Chicago.
Hell yeah.
But I know we're like 10 minutes at a time, 15 times over 2 years. You know what I mean? Or 3 years.
Yeah.
Effie, I've actually, and I love her. Everything about that time frame, I'm like, it's not just like, oh, so cute or oh, so pretty. It's like, holy shit. Like, wow. Like, she's kind of scary in a cool way. Like, the shit she's saying at the bar. She's like, hey, she'll say something to you. And you're just like, all right, damn. Like, I think for some people it's going to be scary and they might be put off. I'm like scary. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. Effie, when you see Effie in the promos, you see Effie on screen, and Effie is bigger than life. Effie is here and Effie is there, and Effie is coming through the computer and touching your heart. And Effie, I don't mean just the hand motions. I just mean the energy that Effie is. That's the same 24/7. That's when Effie wakes up. That's when Effie goes to the restaurant. That's Effie at the, I don't know if Effie goes to the gym because I'd never go, but like wherever Effie is, wherever you see Effie, that is Effie. 100%. I want to say always on. That implies that there's like another state. I don't think there is. I think what you see is what you get. Like Shotzi, like this is a force of nature. This is like lightning in a human bottle. And as much as I want like to fight Effie and do awful things to Effie, I love it because there's no one else like them. And anytime I get to be even just peripherally in their presence, it's a ball. It's a party.
We're going to stick with GCW and move on to the most recent match that you've had there with Nick Gage, that death match. And later on, we'll get to that gif of after the match of the fan handing you the paraphernalia, as we'll say.
Sure.
How was it? Did you guys have like a lot of time to actually get to put together this death match, or was it one of those spur of the moment you guys go out there and just kill it type of thing?
I mean, we were in the main event, and I didn't show up right before I got there, so we had the day. However, we're not just handcuffed to each other all day. And in fact, I would talk to Nick. So like the building is beautiful, but there's just like a back alley for the locker room, and then there's a fence, and there's the parking garage, which go figure all the fans parked in. So, I'm changing. I'm smoking some whatever, and eventually I walk up to Nick, and just so someone can explain to me what things will be set out in the ring before I go out there, because I don't know. And every 2 minutes that we start talking, someone goes, MDK all day, motherfucker. It goes, and Nick loves his fans, every single one, equally and to a passionate degree. So he will just go into, I don't want to call it a promo because it's real. He will just go like a conversation with them. And I put my hood on and I walk away because I don't like the fans seeing me next to the person I'm about to wrestle, even if, whatever. I don't know if they know, I just don't like it. So this happened about 12 times where we talk for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then someone's yelling, and then Nick is talking to them, and I put my hood on and walk away. So So that's pretty much the backstage experience. As far as like before the show, Brett texted me, "Can you make this date in LA?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Will you wrestle Nick Gage?" And I said, "Hold on." I just watched that Dark Side of the Ring. Like, and I was like, fuck yeah. And that was the only conversation we had about what the match would look like. What, if it was hardcore, if it was a death match? We didn't talk about that. No one brought that up. I just knew they said, "Will you wrestle Nick Gage?" And look, I'm a trans woman. We don't get these opportunities every day. We're getting more every day, and we're always making home runs out of them. We're always setting them out of the park. But I think that a lot of people wouldn't fault me had I said no, because for 20 years chairs, tables, whatever. But I'm not a bleeder. I've only bled a couple times over this, and they were all hard way. So, and that has continued. These will still continue to all be hard way.
There's no easy way with death matches.
Well, there's one way that was a razor blade, but it was New Jack, so I think it still counts because that's what could have happened. So, again, I don't think anyone would have faulted me, but I would have been mad at myself because Nick is a professional. While there is some legitimate fear to be had, he doesn't want to murder me. Maybe. I don't know him that well. He apparently did not. But yeah, there wasn't a conversation. There wasn't a talk. Will you do glass? Will you do barbed wire? Will you be cut with a pizza cutter? No, would it have mattered? Would it have happened anyway? I don't know. But I knew what I was getting myself into. And no regrets.
Going through the match, what would you say was, like, if you did have any fear going into it, what part would you be the most like, I don't want to do this, but I guess we're doing it anyway?
So, you basically have these tiers, and my tiers in the head are my, first are just wrestling, which is dangerous, but to me is the safest. And then was the barbed wire, because I had done a little bit what I now realize is 11 years ago. The time was fresh. Yeah, I know barbed wire. And then to me was the glass, because I had never done glass. And I have seen ice cream scoops, spoonfuls, just taken out of people. Just like that. Everything done exactly how it should. And there's just a whoop. And these are 200-pound beefy dudes. I'm 140-something pounds. You take a scoop out of me, you're touching the backside. There's not that much. So that was going into my head. What ended up happening was the barbed wire I don't know if they make it stickier these days or what, but that shit tore me to shreds. The glass was, no scoops got taken out. I'm not going to say it was nice, but, no scoops, no Raisin Bran. And then the wrestling, the stuff I did, I did this cross body to the floor about, a minute and a half into the match. Pretty sure I broke a rib. I'm not kidding. I've broken 3 ribs in my life, and it's got that clicking noise. The deep breaths. I'm just trying not to catch pneumonia now. And that was all me. I'm not putting that on Nick at all. He was there. What could he didn't move. I landed on him. But yeah, out of everything that happened, that I think I'm not being stupid. I really think I broke a rib on that. But rib breaks, but you've seen DDP. You just keep going. And I'll just not breathe deeply for about 6 weeks, I think. So I don't know what the question was, but that's my response.
I think that answered the question perfectly.
Okay. Oh, and the pizza cutter, just fuck. It is what it is. Just, oh my God. And makeup and hair is all I can tell you if you ever plan on going down that road.
I used to work at a pizza place, and I've caught myself with a pizza cutter once, and I was like, better not do that again.
Yeah, I
can't imagine someone just going.
Don't. Oh my God, I've delivered pizza a few places in my life because it's money in pocket that night, and you do everything in there eventually. And I've cut them up, and I remembered that just being I know how pizza cutter they're not toys. These are. they'll fucking, oh my God. Luckily, it's just skull there. If he had done it to my stomach, it would have been like, shit would have just came out.
Everywhere.
Oh my God. Luckily, it's a skull and I'm just fucking thick-headed.
Moving on to a little bit of a somber note, with the more recent WWE releases, more than like mostly the NXT releases, their time is almost up, about 2 weeks left. Is there anybody from that batch of releases that you'd love to have brought into HoodSlam, or that you'd love to face in GCW?
Jake Atlas, he owes me a rematch. Yeah, although he does hit like a motherfucker. I don't know if I want it that bad. Only if I get to wear like American Gladiators helmet. No, I'm kidding. I'll just wrestle him anyway. Jake, Mercedes Martinez? That'd be fun.
That'd be a great one.
Prince Pretty. Let me backtrack a little. The Iconics. Should have got Mickey James, but she's already in NWA, I guess. That was going. Really just, they're all talented individuals. I can't say that, those are the ones that are on like, the gay ones first, and then and then the ones I have crushes on after, Mickey James. But there's also, I'm sure, some cool ones that would be great. I feel for all those people. I know some of them probably lived in Florida like, what, 2 months? Uprooted their whole family?
Yeah, I was about to say, Ari Sterling wasn't there long at all.
I don't know all these people's life stories, but I know some people move from international, they move from out of the country to go to Florida, for fuck's sake. And then now they're just in Florida? Like, what happens to their green cards? Do they still have their visas? Like, I don't know. That's what comes to my mind first. Like, these poor people and their families, like, I think that WWE is free to do what they want. It's their sandbox. They can play with it how they like. But they got to give some of these people guaranteed contracts. They got to say, look, if we're uprooting your whole goddamn family from Australia or England or even from California and making you move to Florida, like, I'm going to need 8 months to a year of just getting paid, because if I have to buy a house in Florida and now I'm just left with a mortgage and no job, like, that's a bit much, I feel. And that's my main gripe with, if you want to hire me, I'll shut the fuck up. But until you pay me, I'm going to talk about, like, give somebody a guaranteed contract when you tell them to move their whole damn family. I'm not saying Braun Strowman at $2 million needs a guaranteed 3 years. I'm saying Bronson, who's been there, a few months, from Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he moved from another country, from the other side of the world.
Right. And now what's his plan? Where is he? Maybe they have talked to him about this and I'm an asshole. But that's the first thing that goes through my mind. Not who I want to look for, like, poor people. And I've lived in Florida. It is not pleasant. Okay.
I've personally never been there. Don't plan on going there.
Yeah, Orlando, nice-ish. Tampa, nice-ish. Miami, actually really nice. But there's just like all these other places that, if you ask me, they could just cut them out and just ship all those other places to Georgia, and we'll call it a day.
We've been about your career plenty of times throughout this interview. Do you have any crazy road stories from your time on the road?
Yeah, but I don't know if I can talk about them. It's what you expect. There's a lot of drugs. Sometimes there's sex. Occasionally, there's a bunch of, there's 11 people in a 2-bedroom hotel where you have to sneak them all in, and we're each putting in like $6 on it. There's this where you're 5 deep in a fucking car, and you go from work to 12 hours to, like, from California to Vegas. You should just fly. And you go back to, like, San Francisco, and they're just awful. I can't really say, this one time Cassie Summers hits me with her Jeep when she's drunk driving, or I guess I could, or you can't really, things like that. But nah, I'll say this though. Those GCW cats do not sleep. And those are stories for them to tell. But they don't. When you see them doing a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're up since Friday. And they're going harder than I am. Like, I don't know what I mean, I know a little bit, but like I'm very. I'll say that.
Their coffee is very strong. We'll just say that.
Oh, man, damn good coffee. I'll say, yeah, that's all I can say because I don't know outside of that, but I am impressed.
If you could have 3 dream matches, like you versus 3 people, past, present, and future, who would you like to have matches with?
Gosh, I'll do the sappy thing and say Virgil Flynn III because he's my friend and he passed away and we had great matches. And then I'll say, double down on it, Eddie Guerrero. And then right now, what would be cool is X-Pac.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan. I recently got to meet him. I've been doing his spin kicks and leg drops and everything for like 15 years anyway. So that would be great. But let me take another route. And let's say I want to wrestle, Brock Lesnar in Saudi Arabia. And then I'll just retire because they'll get $2 million for it. He can beat me in 2 seconds. He can give me the F5 before the bell. The referee can go 1. They can ring it 2. Air. Pin me, pay me.
Yeah, that's how you get paid to go out there.
I'm an Iranian and a trans woman. Maybe Saudi Arabia is not the place for me right now. Right. But look, whoever's going to pay me that's my dream match.
It makes all the sense in the world.
It don't make dollars. It don't make sense.
And I think we'll end this with one of the most cliche questions of all time. What is your favorite match of all time and why?
Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio from Halloween Havoc 97 because it's the best wrestling match there's ever been. Even between Eddie and Rey, you see them try and duplicate things from it, and they're incapable. And sometimes Virgil Flynn III used to do that backflip DDT off the ropes, and we could just pull it out just anywhere in any match. You just throw it out in the chain. He was so good. Call it on the fly. And other wrestlers have too. Nonetheless, it was just all of it together at once. The energy, the cool suit, Eddie being on his game. I don't think there's any topping it. We've had 24 years and there's been beautiful matches. Undertaker Shawn was really good. Shawn Flair had the emotion. Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn, you can't really say, oh, this match is better than that one, technically speaking, but for what I feel still to this day, it's Eddie versus Rey Mysterio.
That's a very good match. I go back and watch it at least once a year. Speaking of that whole Twitter trend of, matches, post a match that you've seen 5 times without context. I've got way too.
I mean, that one was being my number one. Anything from Super J Cup 94, because I've watched Super J Cup 94. Some people have the porno tape that they watch over and over out in the VCR. That was me with Super J Cup, except for I wasn't touching myself. So it's really good though. If you do no judgment to that show.
There's no judgment there at all.
It's that good of a show, honestly. I would. If you do that to any of my matches too, honestly, that's been a goal of mine. So swing away, Johnny. That's what Mel Gibson says to the kid in Signs, swing away. When they figure out the alien's weakness is baseball bats.
Oh my God.
And water, whatever. But mostly baseball bats.
Well, I want to thank you again so much for coming on. This has been a great interview. 35 minutes flew by without me even noticing. So
yeah, that was a breeze. Thank you.
I want to, thank you so much again for coming on. This has been yet another Wrestlebuddy exclusive interview. We've been with the Dark Sheik, and right now I'll give you a chance to plug merch, whatever you're doing.
Sure. My upcoming events, No Peace Underground, October 20th, GCW, October 20th, Grap House, October, when am I saying October? These are all in August. August 19th. These are next week, all in Las Vegas. So if you're coming for SummerSlam, boom, 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 I'll be there. 22nd, I'm in San Francisco for HoodSlam. Doing MV's Polyam, Woodstock in New York the week after that.
Hell yeah.
Big Gay Brunch the week after that, September 5th. Yeah, I'm all over. I'm going to keep going, though. I think I'm going to be in Chicago again for some other fun stuff that hasn't been announced yet. Also, Wrestling Pro Wrestling in Burbank. Brian Kendrick's Wrestling Pro Wrestling. I pop in there all the time. And I've also been fucking up people at the UGWA in San Jose, California. I did one match there, and I'm already a champion. So I'm a main eventer now, just so y'all know. I just main evented GCW in front of 900 people in LA. They're the biggest indie in America. So if you're going to book me, top of the card or match 2, one of those. But don't put me 6. I'm not trying to wait that long and not be drunk. I do my match and get a drink. And also, if the show doesn't serve alcohol, then you just, I don't know if it's going to work out. But, and I sell butt stuff t-shirts. So email me at DarkSheikFTF, Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, Twitch. That's it. I don't know. That's the only places you can find me ever.
And thank you again. Like I said, I've been Wrestlebuddy Matt. You guys can find my articles over at WrestleBuddy.com. You can find my interviews, the game show, and all of our podcasts here on the YouTube channel. We want to thank you guys.
Game show? What? Oh, I'm sorry. Game show?
Yes, we do. We are at the end of every interview. I do extend the hand. I host a wrestling trivia game show here on the YouTube channel called Quiz Buddies.
Cool. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. I got excited. I interrupted your son. Cheeks love games. So, sorry. Continue. We can talk about that.
Not a problem. We are trying to plan to try to get, because we've got Billy Starks said that she would join us. We've got Kid Bandit. We've got Neil Harper that said that he'd be willing to do it. So we've got a couple names. We're trying to get an independent wrestlers episode of Quiz Buddies to try and test your guys' knowledge on how well you guys know your guys' profession.
I'm here. I read every PWI almanac up to 2002. So as long as the no questions come after that, I'm gonna knock it out the park. Catching the big fish, baking that cake, whatever.
That's absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that you're so willing to join us. We'll actually be in touch with you a lot more. We're going to try to find a date that all of you guys can find a Zoom time.
Cool. Love it.
So once again, everybody, thank you again for joining us. And this is the part of the interview where we wave. Bye.